Hello, tarot friends. Today we're talking about January 2024. I feel like I have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to get right to it. January, I really did, I feel like I kind of changed my approach to the year as a whole. I think, it's generally pretty accepted that January is the reset. Which makes sense. That's when New Year's is celebrated. The new calendar year starts in January. But for me this year, I think I've decided that January, February, maybe even a little bit of March are going to be slower times for me. A lot of people have been talking about how in our community, this is the time of year where you're slow. You're slowing down, you're hibernating. The harvest is done. The hard work is done. You just scrounged and did all the work to create a comfortable winter for yourself, and now you're just tending to the fire. So I've really kind of tried to just be tending to the fire at the moment and not be super active with resolutions or goals. Definitely still working with intentions. I think that's always something we should work towards, but more just kind of like doing some work below the surface and prepping myself for the person I want to be in 2024. What do I have to do to get there? Let's make a plan. Let's figure it out. Let's write it all down. Let's see, where we're at in January, February, and a little bit of March. What's going to work for us? What's not going to work for us being me. And then you start with the action. Then you start acting, when spring is starting, things are blooming, things are coming alive, then we do the same thing. So that's kind of what I've adopted this year. So January in that sense was a little slow. However, I do feel like I definitely had more memories and experiences in January than I have had in the last couple of months. So we'll start with memories and experiences. The first one feels like it was forever ago. I actually can't even remember the date. It was very early on in January, and I did a little mini vlog. It was like a 3-minute vlog. And January 5th, that's where we did this. And that feels like it was 2 months ago. January has been so long. It's felt so long. But here we go. I'm going to show you, it's a cafe that's near my house called Deadly Grounds, and it's a horror themed cafe, which you are about to see in great detail. And every Friday, they do crystal readings and tarot readings every Friday. So I decided to go. I was off this particular Friday. I decided to go, and I took you guys along for the ride. So check this out. All right, here we go. We are entering a very horror-filled space. Prepare yourself. So they do themed drinks. They switch them up every once in a while. This was the New Fears resolutions, and it was just like monsters. So the Ogopogo is what I ordered, and it is based on a legendary lake monster called the Ogopogo in British Columbia. And I love me some Nanaimo bars. They are delicious, which are also out of British Columbia. 10 out of 10 recommend if you've not tried them. So that's what I got. Then we have this amazing coffee table. How well done is this? I can't believe. So if you're not into horror or horror merchandise, this place is not for you. My mom, you couldn't pay her to set foot in this place. Like if I told her, hey, you want to come with me to get a coffee, and didn't explain where we were going, she would set one foot in this place and walk out. I'm not even exaggerating. This is not her vibe. But they do have really cool stuff to buy. These are hilarious. And I wanted to buy them so badly. I didn't. But I probably will buy one for my friend for her birthday in April. So then we have these mugs. I was also very tempted by these. Some of them remind me of Claire Goodchild's artwork from Antique Anatomy and the Memento Mori. So I was very tempted, but I was good and did not make any purchases. Then throughout the shop, we have lots of local artist goods, which I love to see it. I was very tempted by basically everything. But the only thing I bought was a sticker. So good for me. Lots of like regular everyday stuff, but with horror theme. There was some pretty cool candles. I don't think I videoed them, but they were also awesome. Just love to see places supporting local. And I think there is another cafe, the same name, Deadly Grounds, in just outside of Ottawa, if you're in that area, so you can check them out. Then we get to my crystal reading with Tammy at crystal_groupie on Instagram. I've never had one of these done before, but basically you pick up a bunch of crystals. She just tells you to pick them up. Whatever ones are calling to you, pick them up. The problem I had was that I knew the name of all of them. I am a crystal groupie and I knew what all these were and what they do and what they mean. So I do think that if you are well versed in crystals, you should close your eyes and just use the energy. But then she goes on to talk about how they affect your life, past, present, future, what they mean, etc., etc. So that was really cool. Then in a second here, we're going to get into my tarot reading with Lisa at lovely_intentions11 on Instagram. I didn't get a big clip of this, but it was really cool. It was a fun experience, and it's so interesting to see how other tarot readers read tarot for a client. Really cool. So I've had my tarot cards read in the past, like we're talking years ago, and back then it was quite accurate. And then I had Thea, I did a reading with Thea, oh my gosh, I don't even know when that would have been, like a year-ish ago, maybe a little more. But other than that, I kind of really haven't had much of an experience with having my tarot cards read. And it was really interesting because she let you pick your deck. She had the True Black, she had, oh no, I just lost the name of it. It's a mass market deck with like watercolor. Anyway, so you could pick your decks. So I knew what they were, and that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, I'm going to go with the True Black Tarot. I don't own it. It's a good chance for me to see how it works and experience the energy from the True Black Tarot, which I don't know. I don't know how I felt about it. So it's still on the I'm not going to own list. But it was very quick. You know, they were just little mini things, but it's super nice to connect with people like that and just enjoy the moment, enjoy connecting with like-minded people. The readings were both very similar, the crystal reading and the tarot reading. Now, they were sitting side by side. So the crystal reading was first and the tarot reading was second. So the tarot reader heard everything we were talking about. So there is, like, it's definitely possible that she geared her reading towards what was being said in the crystal reading. I don't really care. It was a fun experience. It was not expensive. It was a really fun experience. Then we have, my backyard is a highway for wild animals. We back onto a green space and there's lots of wildlife in my backyard. We have skunks. We have opossums. Yes, possums with an O in front. Different animals than possums. Opossum. We have obviously squirrels and birds. Our next door neighbor has a cat. But this year, for the first time ever, we had foxes in our backyard. And this happened on my dad's birthday. My dad passed away a little over 8 years ago. So January 9th was his birthday, and there were 2 fox literally at our back door. So that was a pretty cool experience. They didn't really seem to be afraid. We've seen them a couple times since, but not recently. That they were kind of around that day and a couple days later, but not a whole lot. And we have set up, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 4. We have 4 cameras in our backyard in the places where these animals frequent, specifically for filming them, for creeping them, watching them, checking them out, seeing what they're up to in the night. And we haven't seen the fox in a bit. We did have the opossum there a couple nights ago, but when it was really cold back in the beginning of January, there was nothing except the fox. That was it. Then my work, this was really interesting. My work had a mindful intention setting webinar. So I signed up. It was free and anyone could sign up. So it was really based on the difference between intention setting and goal setting, which was very informative. I really liked it. I took pictures of the PowerPoint presentation so I can reference them, I can go back, but I just thought it was really interesting and really cool that a workplace, especially my workplace, would have something like that for people to take. And I got a lot out of it. So that was very fun and very interesting, and super grateful that my work had stuff like that for me to do and sign up for. And, you don't get grief about it. You don't have to make up time. It wasn't long. It wasn't like a 4-hour session. I think it was about an hour, but it was still really cool. And I really enjoyed it. And lastly, as far as memories and experiences go, I went to one of those candlelit concerts. I don't know if your social media is like mine, where it's covered in advertisements for these candlelit concerts. It's all I've been seeing for months now, is these candlelit concerts. So basically what it is an instrumental tribute to a certain band, and the instruments vary depending on concerts. So the one that I went to, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to go. It was a tribute to Coldplay, and it was on the piano, and it was at the Metropolitan Community Church of Toronto. And if you don't know what that is, it's the first church ever in the whole world to have a same-sex marriage. That happened on January 14th, 2002, I want to say, and the Reverend wore a bulletproof vest because they received many death threats that if they were to follow through with that marriage, they would be unalived. So very interesting. It's a very old style church. I mean, it's not super, super old, but it is old style, very pretty. We were allowed to film the very last song that the artist did. It was the same artist, the same pianist through the whole thing. And we were allowed to film the last one. So beautiful experience. And then after that, we went to a fancy schmancy French restaurant. And I think it's the first French restaurant I've ever been to. I had the duck confit, and it was very good, very good. And then we had the souffle for our dessert. We split one. I was very full. It was, I'm not a foodie in the sense where I like to spend a lot of money out at a restaurant. Like, it's kind of like when you get that bill, it hurts, it stings a little. But yeah, it's, it's something to do every once in a while. It's not an all the time thing for me. But it's an experience, and that's really what you're paying for. And also, the food was so good. And I had a French 75, which I've never had in my life. Also really good. I love champagne. Unfortunately, my body does not love champagne. Bad things happen, but I still drink it. I mean, isn't that the case with all alcohol, I guess? All right, what have I been watching? What's going on in TV land? So, True Detective, Season 4, Night Country, I think that's what this one's called. So good. So incredibly good. So Tara and I were chatting about this season, Tara from Cozy Corecraft, and she brought to my attention that this season is actually a sequel to season 1. Now, each season for True Detective is its own thing, except for season 4, apparently. Season 4 is a sequel to season 1. Season 1 came out in 2014. Do you think I can remember a single thing other than the fact that Matthew McConaughey is in it, and I know he did a phenomenal performance. I remembered who-ish the bad guy was, or what the premise behind the bad guy. I definitely remembered that, but I had to go back and watch it because it was 2014. If you have not seen season 1 of True Detective, it is so great. Where am I watching? Crave, so that's HBO. Definitely go back and watch it. I also recommend going back to watch it because there's about 3 things that are happening in the current season that directly tie into season 1 that I didn't piece together until after rewatching season 1. So definitely go back and watch season 1 if you haven't already clued into this things that are same from season 1. Highly recommend watching it. This season, I'm very, very excited for. It does seem to be leaning a little more on the supernatural side. I personally think we're going to have a logical, rational resolution, perhaps. I say resolution in air quotes. You'll know what I mean if you see season 1. But I do think, I don't know it's going to be as supernatural as it's appearing. However, I am picking up on the nods to Sedna. So I'm kind of looking forward to hopefully them bringing Sedna into it a little bit, and maybe that's Sedna's the one they're talking. I don't know. I don't want to say too much in case you haven't watched it, but pretty cool to see that. Definitely recommend watching it. A new episode comes out tonight. Episode 4 comes out tonight. So really looking forward, like I cannot wait. I wanted to try and not watch it so I would be able to binge like a solid 4 episodes at one time, and I couldn't even do it. So now I'm in that awful position where it's like back when you were a kid when you had to wait every week for your show. That's where I'm at right now. Then I started watching. This one I have opinions about. Sanctuary, A Witch's Tale. Where am I watching this? Sundance. I'm watching this on Sundance. I think. I'm pretty sure it's on Sundance. Okay. First episode, I was hooked. I was very, very hooked after the first episode. I think there's been 3 episodes as well. Maybe 4. I think there might have been 4. It is painful to watch every single person make every possible mistake that can be made. And I know that that's silly because they wouldn't have a show. If people weren't making mistakes, if everyone was making all the right moves, there would be no show. But they let this housewife make lawful decisions for this town. How? I know it's based on books. I don't know when the books were written. I have not read the books. But to me, it's getting borderline like, oh, come on. Like this would not be happening. This would not be happening. Now, it's a show about witches who've been accepted by society. They are out there. People go to them for healing, for rituals, for spells, for all this stuff. There is still some prejudice towards witches in communities, but they are, for the most part, widely accepted. Until something goes wrong. And that's when it's super easy to blame the witch when something goes wrong. So that's basically what it's about. And I'm actually kind of afraid. I've seen the previews for like what's to come in the season, and it scares me a little because it seems like it gets very intense. This season, by the way, should have all the trigger warnings. Essay especially. I found the essay it was very triggering for me, and I don't even really have a terrible history with essay aside from being a woman in today's world. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Trigger warning, essay, and frustration. And I'm really afraid to watch it because in this day and age, we have these TV shows that may or may not get approved for a second season. And if they do, that season could be 2-3 years from now. So that really frustrates me. I kind of don't like getting into shows for that reason anymore, but here we are. I'm into it. I think I'm going to stick with it because I feel like I've invested some time and some opinions. We'll see how that goes. That one comes out Thursday nights, I think. I think there's a new episode every Thursday. Could be wrong. Could be Tuesday. I think it's Thursday. Reading. I haven't talked about what I'm reading in a long time. I also haven't talked about what I've been watching, but haven't talked about reading. I'm still doing the ACOTAR series. And I think I did mention, so I read the first and second books, which I loved. And I loved them so much that I went back and listened to the YouTube account that reads the books and has sound effects. Obsessed. So I listened to them both again. On YouTube. So it kind of slowed my journey, and I think that's why I didn't talk about what I've been reading for a while, because I basically went back and reread the first 2 books. And by read, I mean listen to. Now, where are we? So A Court of Wings and Ruin, I think, is the 3rd book. I can never remember what these books are called, so I have to write them down. I'm reading them. A Court of Wings and Ruin is the 3rd book, and A Court of Frost and Starlight is the 4th book, I think. Both of which I did not like. I found that they were an incredible waste of time. 10 out of 10. I convinced my friend to listen to these books. She's also doing the YouTube thing. So she's invested. She's on the 2nd book. And I basically told her, you don't even have to read the 3rd and 4th book. Like, you can just go straight to the 5th book, which is A Court of Silver Flames. She's not doing it. Don't panic. She's like, no, I want to read them all, whatever. But I didn't like them. I thought they were a bit of a waste. And I'm on A Court of Silver Flames right now. It has upped its spicy notches. not expecting a lot of this. So warning, if you're not into spiciness, it caught me off guard because there were some spicy scenes, but not like this one. So that's been fun. I am enjoying it much better than the third and fourth book. Much, much better. I don't know how far along I am. My Audible thing is on my phone, which I'm using to record. I think I want to say I still have like 8 or 9 hours of reading left. So I'm still pretty, it's a huge book. So I think I started with 23 hours perhaps. I feel like that's how many hours there were total, and I'm down to 9. So I was hoping to finish this coming week because I listen while I'm working. But now I'm training this week, so I won't get to listen to anything. So it won't be this week. All right. YouTubey things. YouTubey updates, YouTubey things I did. I did the top decks from the Only 10 Indie Decks VR to Meg at Rose Honey Ritual and Thea at Garden Goddess Tarot. This was a long time coming. I procrastinated like crazy to film this video, and originally I started off strong. I started off taking the stats as people were doing the VR. Like every day I would go in and record the stats. And then I fell off that ship and didn't get back on. So it did take a long time. There were also, I can think of 3 YouTubers that said they were going to do a response to it and haven't done it yet, or at least it never came up in my search results. So I was kind of waiting on a few more VRs because there weren't nearly as many VRs to the indie decks as there were to the mass market VRs. So oh well, here we are. I did it. The results are up. I will pin it wherever it goes. So I finally filmed that. Finally got that done. The tarot wrapped spreadsheet. I do have a little bit of an update. This isn't something I want to be updating every month because I think it starts to sound like a broken record. But I also think it's kind of cool to highlight the problems or issues or changes I want to make going forward as I'm using it, as I am working with it and realizing I don't like this or I would prefer this. So I did film a little thing about the spreadsheet, so I'll slide that in here. All right, let's talk updates. So what I've done over here is this information was previously on the deck tab. I've just moved it over to the master tab because I changed up the deck page, which we'll see in a second. So this is just tarot last updated, oracle last updated, Lenormand last updated, and then the last one just says unjournaled last updated. So that's just like when I'm messing around in bed, not really documenting anything, but it still counts as a reading kind of thing. Then I created this formula over here. So what this does, this 70, it's a lovely even 0 there, it tallies the total suits pulled plus the total, there's that touch screen, the total, what are these, majors. So this is the master spreadsheet, but we're still in January. So for the year so far, I have pulled a total of 70 cards. So that's interesting. I think at the end of the year, that'll be really interesting to see how many cards total I pulled for the entire year. I could have done that in the 2023 spreadsheet, but I don't know why. I did not think to do that. And then that's the same across the board in every spreadsheet or every month tab. So again, we're still in January, so the number is going to be the same. There's not going to be anything super exciting happening here. But in January, I've pulled 70 cards so far, and then I've moved that over into February, March. It's in all of the spreadsheets. So it'll be interesting to see more so how many cards I pulled total throughout the year, but also how many cards I pulled each month. Like maybe there'll be a month where I pulled an astronomical amount of cards in a certain month, or a month where I hardly pulled any. That'll just be interesting on a personal level. Like, oh, maybe March will be a slow month or whatever. Then we get to the deck tab. So here's what I've done with the decks tab. I've created a column for each month. I got lazy and stopped at June, so I'll obviously have to complete that. But this I did because I really thought it would be interesting to see what decks I use in each month. And then what I did was tally them at the bottom. So let's go to tarot decks. So total readings. I've done 20 readings in the month of January with tarot decks and 11 readings in the month of January with oracle decks. Then we have total decks used. So it's not going to be 20 because, as you can see here, Tarot del Fuego, I used 4 times. So that 4 is calculated in that 20. So I think I'm going to have to manually just count, like, okay, whatever has a figure in this cell, it counts as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I used a total of 13 decks so far in the month of January, but I don't know what formula to use because it's going to add up these figures, which is what that does. So I'm going to have to figure that out or just manually count. Same with the oracle decks. And then here I've got, this will count all of them. This will be for every month. So total decks used and total readings done. This is reversed. That should say total readings, total decks used. Okay, I'll have to fix that. The problem I came across here, and I don't really know how I'm going to handle this. So with oracle decks, so the Moonology is a great example. With the Moonology deck, I don't often do readings with it. I actually can't remember the last time I did a reading with the Moonology deck, but I do use it with the new moon, full moon, super moon, all that jazz. And then they sit as altar cards on my dresser. That's not a reading. It's just me using the deck. So I feel like that's going to mess up my reading stats. Although maybe it is kind of a reading. I don't know. Same with the Wild Unknown Animal. I didn't do a reading. I just used the fox card and put it on my altar. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that information, or I don't know. If I'm going to still include it, if I'm going to try and remember, I don't know. But that's where we're at with the spreadsheet. Those are the changes that I've made so far. And if we're just going to take a quick peeky, we still have the cups coming out on top. It's just barely though. There's 15 cup pulls, and then the next place is tied with wands and pentacles with 12, and then swords are 11. So, and our highest major looks to be Judgment, which tracks. That's not entirely wrong. We don't have a highest minor yet because there's multiple that have 3. So there's a multiple tie. And by multiple, I mean 2? No, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So interesting, just little updates that I hopefully it'll get to a point where I'm no longer updating it and I'm just using it. But like as I go along, I'm going to come across these things. Then I'm like, well, this doesn't work. I don't like how this works, or I can make this work better, or I want to know more information. So I'm going to create another area, whatever. But those are the updates. And I did make an Amazon purchase. It wasn't for that video, but it's been working for that video. And I kind of wanted it for all of my videos, but you'll see. So I might hit my mic here, so apologies for that. But it's this contraption. So that is how I filmed that video. It goes around your neck. My chin probably looks fantastic right now. This thing snaps into place. And yeah, it's going to land right on my mic. Let's take the mic off while we discuss. So this, it kind of sits on your chest, and this is a MagSafe for your phone. So if you have a phone with a magnet in it, your phone sits here and you can be hands-free while you're recording what you're doing. This has 3 tilting points. There's one, the mic is so far away, 3 tilting points, one here, and one here. So you can make all kinds of adjustments to the filming location. If you want it to be straight down, it can be straight down. If you want it to be kind of like more parallel to your face, so you're looking straight, it can be that as well. There's a version I saw on Facebook about this, and it has a stabilizing option. That version, very expensive. This version, not expensive at all. I got it on Amazon, like I said. So the piece sits on your chest, and it does like, I mean, you're not really doing that when you're filming a video, but it does kind of move ever so slightly. It would be better if you weren't as chesty, I think. But here we are. So there's a button to release it. So I think if you are wanting to film with using both hands looking down like that, that's a good option. So I just wanted to share the purchase. Other thing, okay, we'll talk about learning astrology. This astrology is super overwhelming. There is a lot to learn, especially when it comes to birth charts, natal charts, whatever you want to call them. Oh my gosh, so many planets, so many constellations, trine, what? Sextile? Don't know what any of those mean. So I've been on the hunt for an astrology deck to help me learn astrology. And I just get so incredibly overwhelmed that I stop looking. Now, I have made an astrology deck purchase. It should be arriving today from Amazon. But an astrology deck is not, I don't want to have multiple astrology decks. The sun is out. It's on my body. Oh my gosh. This isn't something we have a lot of. Oh no, it's making the filming look terrible, but I'm not closing that blind. No. Okay. I only want to have one astrology deck. It's not something I want to have multiple of. So if I buy an astrology deck, which I have purchased, I want it to be the one. And I think that that's put a lot of pressure on myself. But so I've looked at a couple and I kind of thought that I had winners. Every time I've seen one, I thought I had a winner. So the Astro Alignment deck by Mystic Mondays, this one I was like, that's it. This is the one. It's little itty bitty round cards. I did have some criteria. I wanted each card to have more than one keyword. I wanted all of the houses. So basically I wanted at least a 50 card deck, at least 50 cards, multiple keywords, the houses. And I did kind of like having the trine, the sextile, the whatever, because I don't know what they are. Don't know what those mean. So the other thing is there's a couple on Etsy that I really want. There is at least two that I can think of off the top of my head. Astrology decks on Etsy that are perfect, that I would love to purchase. However, I'm not spending $100. I'm kind of getting super frustrated with spending hundreds of dollars on tarot decks. It's not really something I want to do. It's not really something I want for myself. If I come across one that I just love, that is super me, I have to have it, sure. But if it's not an F yes, I'm not spending $100 on that deck. And unfortunately, the Etsy decks are around $100. So Etsy is out. An independently published astrology deck is out. To mass market we go, Mystic Mondays. So I started watching some tarot tube unboxings. I thought I took a screenshot. Did not. It doesn't appear that I did. I was watching an unboxing of the Astro Alignment deck by Mystic Mondays. And I was like, that's it. That's the one. Until I was reading the comments on the YouTube video where someone was like, yeah, except the book is wrong. And she went on to detail everywhere the book screwed up. All right, so that one's out. Not doing that. The Star Codes Astro Oracle. Love it. It only has one keyword. Not for me. I did think about writing more keywords on the cards, but my writing is not good enough, and I know I would hate looking at it every single time. Every card, I would just hate looking at. Then we have the Numinous Astro Tarot deck. This one was going to be the winner. It looked like it was winning. I've got it in my cart on Amazon. It's not the one I purchased though. I'm not going to lie. I still might get this. I know it's in the split box where it stacks the deck in half and stupid, but it does have good reviews. I did hear that the cardstock is terrible. I'm not a cardstock snob, but I don't know. So those were the runners up. I did not buy any of those. So stay tuned for February's video to see which deck I ended up purchasing. Now, my Celestial Journal update, it's going very well. I am very impressed with this. The fact that they printed the draft version and everything does not matter to me. I do come across little errors here and there. Not a big deal. I'm not super picky. There's times though where it does feel slightly overwhelming, and this past week was one of those times. So what did we have? If you remember me talking about this planner, at the end of every week, you have a weekly reflection and a weekly projection for the coming week. So every single week you're doing that. That's something that you're automatically doing every single week. And I did say I thought I would get sick of that. I also thought I would forget to do it. There's been times where I have almost forgot to do it. But then when you go to change the page to the current week, you're like, oh yeah, I've got to do this. And it's usually been Sunday nights. Sunday nights have been when I'm updating my tarot wrapped spreadsheet and then also looking at my book, looking at my agenda. But this week was particularly overwhelming. So beginning of the week, we had our weekly reflection, weekly projection. Then we had a new moon in Leo, full moon in Leo. So I had to do that on Wednesday, the 31st. Then the 1st of February was Imbolc. So you had to do Imbolc, your Imbolc ritual, which is in here. So I did that. Then at the end of every month and beginning of new month, there is a monthly reflection, which is 2 pages of stuff. So it has checking in with myself, monthly gratitude and appreciation, my champagne moments, self-growth, my tarot reading and or notes. Then you have the start of a new month, which everyone has my month ahead, tarot reading, natal chart notes, and vision space. So there's that to fill out. Then a monthly projection thing to fill out. So you set your intentions, you talk about priorities, you talk about to-do lists, you talk about what you're most looking forward to and what you need to let go of and release. So all of that had to be done this week. So this was a big week for this guy. And I did know ahead of time that I had to do all of that. Somehow I pre-planned it all, which is very unlike me, first of all. I can see where in the future, in those situations, I could see myself not pre-planning, not looking ahead and not knowing that that's all coming up and feeling annoyed, feeling overwhelmed and being like, oh, I've got so many rituals I have to do this week. So much reflecting. But really good. I am really enjoying it so far. And that's partly why I wanted to, like, if you look at Monday, January 20th, there's all kinds of symbols going on. I don't know what those mean. So that's partly why I wanted an astrology deck. That's partly why I want to start learning more about astrology so I can get more out of this. I would love the natal chart projecting stuff. I would love to figure that out, but I'm not quite there yet. And deck purchases. I did make one purchase this month, in the month of January. I had $20 in chapters points that were going to expire. So I was like, all right, fine. I got the Seasons of the Witch Imbolc. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite one. With these, when these started coming out, there would be 8 of them because there's 8 Sabbats. And I told myself I was not going to be getting all 8 because that is a lot of space. That's 8 decks this size. It's not like they're in a tuck box, they're oracle size. They're a bit bigger, 8 of them. And I thought that was too much. And so far I have them all. But the books, I think, are where this deck really shines. And I did talk about this in my Aquarius decks for Aquarius season video. I talked about the deck and how, like, there's rituals, there's recipes, there's cool things inside these books. And that's what I do like about it. I don't love that it's so wintry. Like, Imbolc, to me, it's the coming of spring. I know that it's still winter. We still have a little bit of snow. We've had some sun the last couple days, but it's starting to get your mindset out of that cold headspace and cold physical space. And these, to me, are still they're very dark. There's some that are springy, I guess, sort of. We have the coming of spring. Let's find some more that are springy. This one, it shows underground that's, you know, warm-ish looking. It's brown, it's not white. Winter, winter. That's inside. Inside doesn't count. Winter. Here we have a winter scene with a greenhouse. So it's a little bit of both, I guess. Inside, winter. It's winter. Okay, here we have one that's not snow. Ice. Snow. Snow. Inside. Snow. Inside, but snowy window. Snow. Snow in the window. Snow. Okay, groundhog. This one doesn't have snow. So you get my point, right? Like there's, oh, black bear. Here's one without snow. That one has snow in the window. Snow. So I'm a little disappointed in how snowy it is, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. You still get great use out of it. It's just, I was expecting a little more warmth out of it and not as chilly, but I bought it. So I got $20 off though, at least I got $20 off. It wasn't a full price purchase. And I probably still would buy it again anyway. My birthday is in February and during the Imbolc season. So, and there is an Aquarius spread in here. It talks about amethyst. So it does all those things. It checks all those boxes for my birthday month. So I probably still would have purchased it anyway. It's just so much snow. Can we not with the snow? Can we not with the cold? Anyway, so that is January. And as far as February goes, I did do a video on YouTube about decks for Aquarius season, and I kind of wanted to do one about decks for Pisces season. That kind of is going along with my learning, everything I want to learn about. So I'm undecided if I'm going to film that video, but if I do film it, I will see you there. And thanks for watching.